Hey everybody, welcome in to Go Fight Win, the show with all the high school football stories you love. On this episode, I'll speak with Matt Stinchcomb. He's a college football Hall of Famer, former first-round NFL draft pick. You can see him on the SEC network today. He's going to tell us all about how his football team had an unofficial chicken mascot and how one of his coaches used to carry telephone poles on his shoulders. He says it's true. I'll believe him. You be the judge. Coffeetown Football also returns as the boys take on Strongbirch in the home opener. You don't want to miss that. And we'll hop around the country. A lot of West Coast stories this week with some of the most absurd and inspiring high school football headlines I saw over the last few days. It's time for Go Fight Win. Put that mouthpiece in. Let's go.
Tell you what, just give the ball to Donnie Cook and let that turkey work.
Oh yeah, it is time for Go Fight Win. I'm your host, Wes Blankenship. Appreciate y'all being here. This is episode 4. The show is growing slowly but surely. Go ahead and hit like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Make sure this thing is in your queue every Thursday when it drops, whether you want to watch it on YouTube or listen along on all those audio podcast platforms out there. You can have it. It's yours for free. Other ways you can support this show, support the Coffeetown brand, go over to gocoffeetown.com. We got t-shirts, we got mugs, got hats. If you want to wear something or drink out of something, it is all there for you. Or sign up for a premium membership. Get yourself a customized Coffeetown jersey with your name and number on it like I'm wearing today. We'll start our story headlines out west, and we're going to go more and more west as these stories go along. We're starting out here in Colorado, though, and if this story don't light your fire, your wood's wet. This story is out of the Otis Telegraph, the friendly voice of Washington County, and Otis High School taking on Briggsdale. So a Briggsdale player by the name of Carlos Valdez caught his first touchdown pass in his career. He's a sophomore, and that's an exciting moment for anyone. But it's even more incredible when you learn that Carlos Valdez is a double amputee. He was a child when he was in a boating accident, according to the Otis Telegraph, and he lost both of his legs. And he gets in the game. His team's down pretty big. So, yes, it is a touching moment where Otis was allowing Briggsdale to run this play. Not going to look over that. If you're cynical about that, this isn't the story for you. You can go ahead and find something else to listen to. I don't care that it was a sweet moment that the other team agreed to, because I'm glad that it happened. I'm glad it happened for Carlos. I'm glad it happened for us. So here's the story. Carlos's touchdown was set up on a 30-yard run by fellow sophomore Thyson Tolbert. Wow, what a name. And Carlos says, when the coach called my number to go in, I was so nervous but super excited. Whew, aren't we all? You get that first call, you get that shot to go play. I mean, even practice sometimes. Some players out there don't even get to practice. They're so buried on the depth chart. But Carlos gets his number called, and he's ready to go in. So he gets a few chances here. This is the story within the story. First down, pass heads Carlos's way, incomplete. He drops the ball. Second down, Carlos is wide open at the goal line. Great pass. Carlos can't bring it in. So now on third down, the pressure is mounting, okay? Carlos has this moment, a moment that many people would love to have. A touchdown in a high school football game? You kidding me? He knows he can't mess it up. Carlos says, I was so nervous. But guess what? He wasn't too nervous to mess this one up. When I caught it, it was so exciting. And everyone came out on the field and picked me up and started to throw me around, and everyone was giving me high fives. All right, I know y'all are excited, but let's take it easy on Carlos, okay? He's going through a lot. He's really excited. But the coolest part about this was it wasn't just his Briggsdale teammates. It was the Otis football team too. Both teams out there in the end zone celebrating with Carlos. How cool is that, man? The tough thing about Carlos's completion, his reception, I should say, because of his accident, his right and left arms can't communicate with each other. So the ball was thrown at his bicep, and he just kind of mosses it in there with one hand just to make this thing even sweeter. The reporter actually quotes himself, which you don't see too often. He says, in this reporter's opinion, quote, "It was in all my years covering sports, the best display of love, admiration, and sportsmanship to a fellow player." Man, I know it gets dusty out there in the desert, but I think I got some in the studio here today. My eyes are sweating. Carlos goes on, "It was hard at first. Then I realized I can't stop because life is not going to stop for me. Life is going to continue, and I don't want to slow down or be held back, so I've got to keep up with life and keep going." Amen, man. Don't stop. Anything that comes my way, I just deal with it as it comes and keep pursuing it through. Man, that's a sophomore in high school. Y'all think about that, man. Carlos learned to ride horses at age 5. In 2018, he learned to snow ski. His long-term goal is to be a neurosurgeon. But don't tell me that high school football doesn't rank up there in the lifetime achievements of Carlos Valdez, man. He did it. He caught a touchdown. He got it done. Carlos says his favorite subjects at school are science and lunch. He says lunch isn't a subject. It is. You try hard enough at it. It is. You know, the Bible tells us if you're going to give something to somebody, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. I know Carlos maybe wishes that those two could communicate from time to time, but he didn't need them to catch this touchdown. And he gave us all a lot to appreciate, a lot to be inspired by with that story, man. Can't stop. Carlos isn't letting that stop him either. Good job, Carlos. All right, next one. Not so much a feel-good story if you're Carlos Hurtado, a California high school teacher. He was reportedly suspended from school in Brentwood, California. This is Heritage High School. And this story comes from the dailymail.com. I think they're out of the University of Kentucky or, no, the United Kingdom. And so they report here that Hurtado was suspended reportedly for poor attendance. Now, the story goes on to say that Hurtado was trying to balance his teaching career with a career as a travel agent. And I'm going to tell you, that doesn't really work out because travel agents don't really work at night. You kind of want to knock that stuff out during the day. And so I imagine that the balance wasn't working out too well. But that's not the real problem for Mr. Hurtado here. A 27-year-old teacher, history teacher, shows up and goes to the high school football game. Now look, you got poor attendance. That doesn't mean you can make up for it and just show up at all the sporting events. You still got to teach your class. And Friday nights are not for you, Mr. Hurtado. You are to be doing your job between Mondays and Thursdays. Fridays are for the boys to focus. I don't need my history teacher coming out here and telling my boys how to think about history and other subjects. I'm trying to watch them play a ball game. This ain't for you. You ain't the story, Mr. Hurtado. So Carlos runs out onto the track. In this video here, he's running around the track and evading the police. He's in a full suit. This is wild. He's wearing loafers. He's running around the track. No one can catch him. And I love my boys in blue out there. But I don't know if they were afraid to take him down. They didn't know what they were dealing with here. They evidently didn't know he was a teacher/travel agent because I can't think of something that may be less imposing than that. They can't catch him. Well, guess who does? One of the high school football coaches, of course. And I think the law enforcement out there might need to watch this film, study it, sit in the film study with the high school football team, and you'll learn how to take this guy down. And you won't ever struggle again. So Carlos is running around the track like a madman. He's trying to get some hours in out of the ones he's missed in school. And you see old coach here say, hey, here's a lesson. Boom! How about that shoulder? You think you're a travel agent? I'm going to take you on a trip to Paintown, son. And then they get him. They apprehend him. And I don't think he will be teaching anymore. And I don't think he's going to be finding anybody good deals on their travel vacations. Don't interrupt the high school football game, especially if you're a teacher, okay? Know your place. Go run your laps, when the game is not going on. Good luck to Carlos. I hope he's okay. He got Hurtado at the football game. Moving even further west in Maui. Y'all know about the fires going on out there. A lot of high school sporting events have been ruined. They've been canceled, been postponed. They can't do them. Well, don't tell the Lahaina Luna high school football team that, because according to ABC News, the Lahaina Luna high school football team is going wherever it can to practice ball. The team's school and field were destroyed during the blaze last month, according to ABC. Many of the players' homes were also damaged, but the players traveled more than an hour to Kihei, K-I-H-E-I. Apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. But I love this. Malina Montgomery, a 16-year-old player, is on the team with his brother. That's pretty cool to get to play ball with your bro. And he told ABC News that playing football is getting the team's mind off of all the struggles that they're facing. And you see this from time to time. You see some things that rock a community, and what does the high school football team do? They don't just make people forget about it. It's not just a distraction. It's a chance for people to remember that there is something normal about this town still. There's something great about this town still. Let's achieve that. Let's work towards that and be better. Malina says we're playing for them, all the Lahaina people. It feels good to play for them because we all lost something. Dean Rickard is the team's co-head coach, and he told ABC that there might be some concern about whether or not the season would ever happen at all. But the team worked on it. They modified their schedule, and they are practicing wherever they can, traveling up to an hour away to practice ball. Tamara Montgomery is Malina's mom. She says, in Lahaina, our community, it's all about the kids. Whether it's football, basketball, baseball, we HUI together or come together as one to support. I guess that's some Hawaiian. And for Lahaina, our football team plays a huge role in that. So just some great stories about persistence today. Some good, some bad. I'll choose the good ones to motivate myself today. Be more like Valdez out there in Colorado. Be more like the Lahaina Luna high school football team. They are going wherever they can to keep things going, to keep their team going, because not every team out there can. So be like them. Don't be like Mr. Hurtado. Things don't work out for you. Just try not to make a scene at the high school football game. All right, coming up, there will be a scene at this high school football game. Coffeetown taking on Strongbirch. Let's go.
Coffeetown versus Strongbirch in the home opener. Time to field the fangs. The Snake Pit student section threw eggs at the Bears team bus when it rolled up. And we got some breaking news right here before the coin flip. Strongbirch starting quarterback Frankston Jones is allergic to eggs, and his window was wide open. He's broken out in hives, and now he's being airlifted to Copper County Hospital. Our grade A's took out their QB. You got to keep your head on a swivel when you roll up on the Snake Pit, son. Jones had offers from Georgia Southern and Troy, a real hot shot, and his backup is an 8th grader, Slick Brickman. Roster lists him at 5'6", 140 pounds, but they must have used a metric system because I don't see it. Yep, he just puked for the 3rd time. This kid is shaking like a dog pushing out a peach pit. Little Brickman back there in the gun, he's lucky they're wearing dark pants. The snap goes over his head, and Mount Everest Michaels picks it up and scoops and scores. Michaels is 6'4", 370. He just blew up that middle schooler and rumbled into the end zone. That defensive score brought to you by Allie Money defense attorney. Coffeetown's defense wins championships, and Allie Money's defense team wins it all, from separations to conservatorships. Contact Allie Money and take your life back to the house today. Welcome back to the Coffeetown Halftime Show, brought to you by Big Tire, and it don't get much bigger than our academic athlete this week, Mount Everest Michaels, 18 pounds at birth, breaking the Copper County record previously held by his daddy, Rocky Mountain Michaels. Son, y'all ain't got a gene pool, you got the whole Pacific Ocean. Your mama don't worry about grocery bills, she's got whole grocery manifestos. Mount Everest Michaels, 8th world wonder, We're proud you're a Copperhead. Man, you are thicker than a bowl of day-old grits. Try not to hit your head on a low-flying plane out there. We're going to need you all year long, son. Okay, fourth quarter. Coffeetown up 23-15. Need a first down to run out the clock. Reptile Henderson pump fakes. No one open. He's going to take off. 20, 15, 10. And he's going to slide at the 3 to keep the clock moving. Just a selfless play from Reptile to make sure we pick up the win. All these me guy TikTok stars and Instafluencers out there, and Reptile just keeps his head down and thinks about the team first. A couple years ago, he would have backpedaled into the end zone and blew a kiss at Strongbirch's team moms, but tonight he just put his hand up next to his ear hole and told them all to call him after the game. Growing up week by week, Coffeetown is 1-1.
Our guest is a college football Hall of Famer, a first-round NFL draft pick. You can hear him on College Football Saturdays on the SEC Network, calling games all over the Southeast and breaking it all down as part of the SEC Now crew. But more importantly, he's a former Parkview Panther, raised in the shadow of the Gwinnett is Great water towers, just like me. He is Matt Stinchcomb. What's up, Stinch?
Man, that's a iconic landmark. Gwinnett is great. Peace. The water power. Yeah, I know it was iconic anyway. But it was a gateway. That was the doorstep to the county. I remember driving in there past those things the first time and being like, we grew up in DeKalb County, so it was like Gwinnett County was the sticks. We used to make fun of the people with Gwinnett plates like they were a bunch of hicks.
Well, boy, that's changed.
Yeah, it's kind of grown up. There's not as many chicken farms as there used to be in Gwinnett County.
So tell me about Parkview High School, man. You were there. It was just the glory days, or at least the doorstep of the glory days of one of the best programs in the state of Georgia's high school football history.
Yeah, it was definitely the doorstep. It might have been the sidewalk leading up to the stoop before you even got to the doorstep, because when we grew up in Tucker, so Tucker High School was pretty darn good and had I think they had won state when I was still in grade school, and then Mom started teaching in Gwinnett County at Trickham Middle School, which was attached to Parkview High School at the time. And they just laughed. All the people that we grew up with in DeKalb, that they thought it was just a real hoot that we would choose to go to Parkview High School. Because by then we were playing football, John and I both, my younger brother. Parkview was not good at football, man. And my freshman year, my first year was Coach Mize's first year. He came over from Stone Mountain. He and Coach Flo together, and we won 2 ball games, lost 8, and the only 2 we won was Duluth and Berkmar. So we kept the green flag, the battle for the green flag, the Lilburn Championship, vaunted. We hung on to that bad boy. That was a long year, man. We were not good. We were bad.
You know, a lot of times when you played Duluth, it was like the battle of the white flag for them. Are they going to actually finish the game?
Well, Duluth, to this day, is the smallest high school in Gwinnett County.
Yep.
And I think that was true then. Even they were that year, my freshman year. I think I've got this right. They were a classification lower, whatever, smaller. If we were 4A, we were 8 quad A. We were 8 4A, and they were a 3A team, and they were one of our 2 wins my freshman year. So Parkview became something, but at the time we were very close to nothing.
So you were playing varsity as a freshman?
Yes, that tells you how good we were. Is that as a freshman, I was playing defensive end for our varsity football team.
So our freshman team, I was not on varsity. We had 3 guys that made it up to varsity. We went undefeated.
Wow.
6-game schedule. Okay. 6-0, only team to ever do it. So the expectations are immediately astronomically high for this group of freshman guys, because you're playing against a lot of the same competition you're going to play in varsity one day. And then my senior year, we didn't even make the playoffs. Everybody like either went to a different school, went out to the expansion schools, or just didn't end up sticking with it. So that
Yeah.
freshman year can kind of be an outlier, can kind of be unfair. As you progressed through your career at Parkview, did you get to see it kind of grow, kind of have some of those early hallmarks of what it could be?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even that first year, I mean, Coach Mize and Coach Flo were super intentional. That whole staff was, and that staff kind of was in flux. They were still trying to figure it out. Who was on the staff, who should stay on the staff. They were getting the community more involved. That was maybe the coolest part, was you could feel the community getting behind it and buying in. And they pushed down into the rec level the things that they were doing at the high school, which makes total sense. Might as well have these kids doing the stuff that they're eventually going to be doing in high school once they get up there. So there's no sense in them running, some air raid spread, Frankenstein offense when you're going to end up in high school running, they call it the ed offense, where you got this wing back. I don't know who runs the ed now, probably nobody, and nobody ran it then either, which maybe is why it worked. It was kind of a curveball, but they might as well learn it. And so you could kind of see it building. They bought into it. They believed in it. And so because of that, I think when the community got behind it, you could see it starting to get better, and guys that stuck with it. And, we had the same type deal. I mean, we had guys that were kind of playground legends growing up that were better earlier. And then, you hit 9th and 10th grade year and they just didn't get any better. They were awesome. We had guys that were going to they were going to play in the NFL. There was a decent chance they'd be like the 6th man in the NBA somewhere for some team and play all-star level baseball in the major leagues. Just amazing athletes. They could do it all in anything and everything. And by 9th grade, I mean, half of them weren't even playing sports anymore. And you just think, wow, that's true of every ballpark across the country, right? You got these guys that are great. Hey, good for them. But they kind of tap out. And, the slugs that were just kind of goobing around and just happy to, figure out, to put their jersey on right. Maybe they hit a growth spurt. Next thing you know, they're still playing ball.
Well, the difference now is a lot of those kids in counties like Gwinnett, I won't single out Gwinnett, all their dads assume that they will be in the NFL, whether they're slugs or not.
Yeah.
Tell me about a home game at Parkview. I've been to a couple of them. It's an insane atmosphere. What was it like when you were playing?
Yeah, the big orange jungle. I mean, that I will say the cool part is we were not a great football team for, a chunk of the time while I was there. We made the playoffs the last 2 years, I want to say. But the first 2, we were just, the second year we were happy to start winning games. I think we went like 6-4 maybe or something. And that big orange jungle thing got going. They put the big billboard out in the parking lot near Cole Road there. And I can remember in fact, the guy, I'm wearing his shirt in memory of him, Roy Massey, the chief. He was at Parkview forever, passed just this past year. And I can remember him toting these telephone poles. They bought these telephone poles from somebody, I don't know what, and they were cutting them, and those things are soaked in creosote. And that stuff will burn you, apparently. The chemical will burn the stew out of you. Well, they were cutting it, and Coach Massey, he was 80 years old for like 40 years. And he was out there cutting, and he was just country strong. He would put one of those poles that they'd cut down and put one on one shoulder and one on the other shoulder. And it took 4 guys to tote the other ones, but he didn't have a shirt on. And it burned the stew out of his skin, was all rashed up and burnt. I think he had to go to the hospital, which is crazy because he's made out of like cast iron. But that's where they built that billboard, and they put the big orange jungle on there, and we started winning games, and that was a lot of fun. My junior year, we had this tight end. He was a really good player named Robbie Moore, and he, for some reason in practice, would he would be petting an imaginary chicken. He would hold what looked like an imaginary. I don't know why. He was crazy. And he'd ask Coach Mize, Coach, it must have been sophomore year, I guess. Had to have been. Coach, come over here. You want to pet the chicken? And Coach Mize was just looking at him like, "Dadgum, what's wrong with you, boy?" Well, somehow that caught on, and the cheerleaders would put on the banner instead of like "Go Panthers" or "Uncage the Panther," or whatever they put on banners. It said "Fear the Chicken," and it had a huge rooster, and it just kind of caught fire, and the fans got into it, and my stepdad went and got a rooster. And we live in the suburbs. You can't have barnyard animals at your house, especially one that crows. And he went and got a rooster, and he had it tied to the chain link fence in our backyard. And that idiot rooster, he didn't know sun up from sundown. He'd crow whenever. And the neighbors hated our guts, but we had a live mascot. We were the Panthers, but our mascot was a chicken, was a rooster, because of Robbie Moore's crazy butt. But for some reason, just people got behind it, and fans got into it. And we put it on the banner, and we made I think we made the playoffs that year and lost to Clark Central.
That was like the War Eagle of Parkview. Y'all just had an alternate mascot.
It was. Yeah, that's right. You know what? That's a great point. We already hijacked Clemson's all their insignia. I don't know how we get away with it. That paw is definitely Clemson's paw. It even has that little crook out of the whatever heel of the Panther's foot. So we jacked that for sure. There's got to be some infringement somewhere. And then we stole Auburn's idea of having multiple mascots.
There you go. And it's a bird too.
It is a bird.
Who was Parkview's main rival, and why were they the worst?
The main rival was Brookwood, and still is, and they are still the worst. Even though there's good people there, they've been able to overcome the environment. I would say to us, that was a rivalry. Brookwood beat us so regularly that I'm not sure they thought it was a rivalry. And a lot of it stemmed from they used our stadium. They didn't have their own stadium. So I think their home games for however many years they'd play at Parkview, I think I got this right. And, and then you could beat – it's a sad day. It's a poor dog that won't fight in his own backyard. And we would lose at home to Brookwood in our own stadium, and it would be like a Brookwood home game. I think that's how it would work, some kind of kooky way like that. And then eventually they built that palace out there, and they had like the little chalet in the corner of the end zone. We hated that. We thought it was a cool idea, but since they did it, it was stupid.
Oh yeah, dumb.
This is a bunch of snooters down there. Meanwhile, our dads are over there freezing their tails off in late season games, cooking hamburgers, just cussing about who knows what. Where's our chalet? But
y'all had Welcome to the Jungle to come out to, Guns N' Roses and all that. So they didn't have that.
Yeah, they didn't have that. Yeah, what do they do? I mean, is it Wild Horses or something by whoever sang that? I don't even know, but somebody.
I think it's the Rolling Stones, but still not as fun. Nowhere near as cool.
Yeah. Who needs the Rolling Stones when you got GNR? I mean, honestly.
So you're playing DN as a freshman. Obviously, the O-line career worked out for you. What others did you play? Any other sports, and what numbers did you wear when you were in high school?
I was going to play basketball and my freshman year, and we went to Georgia basketball camp, and I can remember chewing, I don't know how many ibuprofen a day because my knees were killing me. Of course, I was still growing, and we ran. Coach Richardson was a great basketball coach. Parkview had great basketball, great baseball, great soccer, great basketball, doo-doo football for my first year and a half, we'll call it, before we figured it out. And Coach Richardson ran, I don't know what he called it, but it was like a motion offense, and that was not conducive for my body type. So I never made it to the season. I opted out. I hit the transfer portal and said, I don't think this is for me. And so the only other sport I did at Parkview was track and field. So I threw the shot put and discus, and I did so very poorly. I could not stay in the ring. I was not a we had a guy in front of me who was awesome. He was all state. He won state one year, Todd Davis. He was the other defensive end my first 2 years, I guess, playing at Parkview. And he taught me a lot of stuff on and off the field. And he was a great thrower, and I very much was not. But it was something to do in the springtime. I mean, I showed up at the meets. We didn't forfeit any points. We never got any points, but we never forfeited any either.
Yeah, I mean, track was always a natural thing. They tried to get us to wrestle, and I was like, dude, my arms are almost as long as my legs right now. I'm going to break both of them. Y'all don't need me out there. And track, that was just a thinly veiled encouragement that you run track, or at least go work out with the track team, and no one ever wanted to be there.
No. Well, and here's the thing is that I get why they had most of the skill guys and the athletes, but the big guys, like, we didn't run.
Yeah.
So all we would do is just go over there, tell lies and throw the shot put every once in a while, sit down, suck down about 7 fun-sized Snickers, get up, throw the shot put a little bit more, decide that's about enough, and then go home. I mean, it was not and maybe that's why we stunk, or at least I stunk. Todd was good, but we didn't do much running. Fat man relay every once in a while just for kicks, but that wasn't for points.
We didn't have Snickers. I probably would have stuck with it a little longer if we had that, but we did like the track girls. Like, the track girls were like the most athletic. Everybody wanted to go see the track girls and work out with them, and that was kind of an excuse to get
to admire their athleticism, right? Naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were very athletic. All right. So, Stinch, when I say, what numbers did you wear? Did you wear the same number you did in college?
No, I was 78. They just gave me a number. Well, I love number 78. I thought that was an awesome one. And then in college, they gave me 79, and I love 79 too. That was Steve Roberts' number. And I remember he was from Dalton, and he played as a freshman, and I thought Steve Roberts was just it. And he was a tough guy and played a long time. So I thought, man, I get 79. So that was cool. And then, the only number I ever picked was when I went to Tampa Bay and I had a chance to get 78 again. And so I went and grabbed it. I was 74 with the Raiders. I hated number 74 from the get-go, which was a mistake. You should never form an opinion on something you can't control, but I did. And I hated it all 5 years. I still hate it. But 78 was my number in high school. It was my number in rec ball too, I want to say. So it just kind of got lucky that I got to hang on to it. But I was 62 one year, I want to say.
62.
Yeah.
I
was 55 my first year, and I didn't realize just how good I had it. I mean, 55 is a great number. And then I was like 62. I think I was 64 one year. Hate 64. I hate all the 60s.
Yeah. Well, you don't like the ones that end in 4. And 60,
yeah.
No winners with 60s.
I mean, I'm sure there's some darn good ones out there. I just can't think of any. Dermontti Dawson, he was pretty awesome. Dwight Stevenson. There's some great ones that were 60 numbers, but I can't. Yeah, it didn't look good on me. I didn't think. I was more of a 78, 79 kind of guy.
Yeah, I think that suits you better for sure. All right. When I say high school, I think you may have already answered this, but maybe there's somebody else. Who's the first coach that comes to mind for you, or maybe even a teacher that just has that story that either inspired you, kind of molded you, or still just makes you chuckle?
That makes you chuckle. I mean, there's a lot of them. I remember growing up in Tucker, and T. McFerrin, who's in the High School Hall of Fame, Coaches Hall of Fame, and should be. He was like a legend. Even to we weren't even watching the game. You're running around in Adams Stadium, and you just want to get more popcorn and try not to bust your teeth out on the concrete steps. I mean, nobody was really watching the game, but T. McFerrin was like a larger than life kind of guy even then. So I never played for him and only got to meet him, years after I was done playing. Coach Mize was huge because he believed in you, believed in me, and would say that, told me. And he was kind of a hard guy. I mean, he had an edge to him. Coach Flo, because he's the one that it was his decision to play me as a freshman. So he definitely thought he saw something that I didn't know was. He saw something in me that I didn't think was there, but it was kind of a do as you're told kind of kid. But the characters, my gosh, Coach Massey was a character in his own right. Our offensive line coach Jerry Stewart was a hysterical man. He had all kinds of different isms and phrases, but one of my favorites that sticks with me to this day is we had a guy, he's actually a good friend of mine, I'm not going to say his name, but he had a propensity to jump off sides. He was a good player, played in college, but just would not get the snap count, wouldn't remember it. And Coach Stewart was just done with him. And he said, fill in the blank. If you do that again, you will become what I call biblical. Where I am, there you shall also be, on the sideline. And we were like, no one's ever gotten trolled with scripture better. So that was one of many things. He would sing like these old 60s songs. He was a goofball. He was such a goofball. He was fun to play for. It was hard to get serious at practice because he was just so funny. But stuff like that, he'd burp stuff like that up all the time.
I always felt like the O lineman I played with, I was a tight end and I probably had the speed of a tackle, but I could actually catch. So that was the only reason I stayed there, I think.
Yeah.
The O-line, what's that?
Yeah, I was going to say, y'all are honorary O-linemen.
Yeah, for sure. But I always love the high school O-linemen, whether they played or not, because I feel like every single one of them was funny. So to have a coach that is also funny, they have a good sense of humor and they're kind of self-deprecating. Yeah, we're not getting any of the attention, but we're doing all the work. Yeah. And to have a coach that's funny, that had to be like a great chemistry for all you guys.
It was perfect. We had so many funny guys that were we had a guy my freshman year, Andy Lewis, and anyway, I don't know what he had for lunch, but it was ready to get out. And he was watching him run off that field, and then the coaches are like, "Where are you going?" He didn't ask permission. It was like dead in the middle of a drill, and he was getting out of there, man. And the way he was running was the way you would run, of course. It's hard to clinch and run at the same time. And he spent probably the rest of the season devising different forms of undergarments that would facilitate that need when it is most dire. Drawstrings and all kinds of elastic that would come in handy. Oh yeah. And he was kind of like a cartoonist, and so he would mock up these he would draw up what it would look like, drawstring drawers and stuff. It's like that's this standard operating procedure in an O-line room.
Yeah, just a bunch of engineers and guys who have to go to the bathroom all the time.
A bunch of oversized nerds is what we were. Just a bunch of big, well-fed nerds.
What was the best moment in your high school career?
I would think beating Norcross my senior year. They had a really good team. And they had a really good team the previous year. Gosh, I want to say they went to the semis maybe, and they had Juan Daniels and Marseille Simpson and Terrence McCaskey and, oh, gosh, who else? John England at quarterback. So that was a big moment. I don't know would that be my favorite? We went to Charlie Williams for the first time ever, the old restaurant over there in Athens.
Yeah.
Was it Charlie Williams Pinecrest Lodge or something? It was like a very long, unnecessary name for a restaurant in the woods. And we went there. We played Cedar Shoals. Cedar used to be in our conference or division or whatever, region for some reason. I don't know why. And, God, I can't remember the guy's name. Kiki Wright maybe or something. They had a running back that we just either decided or couldn't tackle, one or the other. So we didn't win, But we got to go to Charlie Williams afterwards, and that's one of my favorite memories because it was like the whole team went. I mean, it'd been kind of cool if we won the game, but we still had a big time because all the parents went. We took buses over there, like real buses, not big, not like a school bus, but like
no
an
TV
actual,
screens.
Yeah, like a Greyhound type bus. I don't think I'd ever been on a bus like that before. So it was just kind of cool. The other one, I thought this was such a boss move until we lost by 30. My freshman year, Brookwood, we're playing at Brookwood, and there was something going on where they weren't going to give us access to the visitors' locker room.
Huh.
I can't remember why, but they were jerking us around basically. And it ticked Coach Mize off so bad that he just said, fine, we're going to warm. So what we did is we warmed up. We did the entire pregame, everything at home, at our stadium. And then in full dress, other than full dress, full uniform, except for our helmets, we got on the bus and we hustled on over there. And right before kickoff, our captains walked off the buses straight to midfield to do the coin toss. People were in the stands like, are they not going to show? Which back then they probably were like, hey, they chickened out. They're not even going to come. But it was because Coach Mize was like, you're going to stick it to us? No, we'll get our warm up in, and then we'll just show up right for kick. And then, I think they beat us by 30. So it's too bad. It would have been really. The punchline of that story would be a lot cooler if we said, and then we went out there and upset those clowns, but they put it on us. But I still thought it was a boss move because he was like, nah, we're not going to be stretching out in the corner like a bunch of rec football players. We would not suffer that indignity. By golly, that will only happen on the scoreboard.
No, I still think that's awesome. That makes me think of the longest yard.
Yeah.
But y'all didn't have Herschel.
We did not, and thankfully we didn't have as many convicts.
That's also a great point. Hard to win. There's a fine line to your convict and non-convict ratio. Yeah, you mentioned the team meal sticking out. We played. They did like this Gwinnett County, South Georgia invitational thing for a little bit when I was playing. And when I say playing, I mean when I was on the team. And we went and played at, what was it? We played at Lowndes High School, but we played Tift County. So it was like a big, they just hosted all the games.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But we went and ate at some Western Sizzlin' in the middle of nowhere. People were fishing in this pond behind the Western Sizzlin', wherever it was, but we ate the best meal we've ever had, ever. Normally it was like rubber chicken and house salad and roll, Yeah. But we had the full buffet, and that's probably why we lost. And South Georgia at that time really did have the upper hand on Gwinnett County. I think now it's more of a fair fight, but something about those pregame meals that are on the road that are a little bit different, it does stick with you. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, we one of my favorite pregame meals ever in college. Actually, not favorite, but the one that's most memorable. We played at Auburn. I'm jumping to college now. I probably shouldn't do that. Anyway, bottom line was, the pregame meals were, especially on the road, could always be a little bit interesting. We all ate a bunch of ham sandwiches that we thought were ham sandwiches that were actually turkey sandwiches. You can imagine how that went. There was a whole lot of weight loss that night. We're not so sure that there wasn't some home cooking in the worst kind of way. When you're playing and on the road, next thing you know, the visiting team has rampant food poisoning from the turkey sandwiches that look like ham sandwiches.
Yeah, it's funny how that works out.
Yeah. I mean, and what's crazy is I don't know the people know that stuff very much goes on. I mean, there's all kinds of stupid shenanigans that you think, there's a reason why you got to bring your own food half the time.
Yeah, connect the dots.
Don't get the local hotel to cater your pregame meal.
Yeah, ask Michael Jordan about that, man.
He played pretty well that game.
He did all
Talking about
right.
the one versus the Jazz,
Yeah.
He rallied nicely.
So, Stinch, wrapping up here, ask everybody this. Give me a few songs from your pregame playlist. What were you listening to get fired up back in the day?
Always listened to on the way to school, which was less than maybe half a mile. So it was basically a one-song trip. And I had an 87 K5 Blazer with Wild Country tires on it, 22s. Really sweet setup, man.
What color?
Black.
Oh, man.
Black on black. The roof never been taken off, so the seal still held up. You know, it rained and you'd still be dry. It was fantastic. And I would listen to Alice in Chains' Wood. That has an awesome bass line. And Lane Staley's one of the greatest scream singers, second only to Chris Cornell of Soundgarden, I would say, who can actually sound good and be just hollering at the top of his lungs.
Yeah, what a talent, man.
Yeah, it really, genuinely is. And I thought Wood was probably my favorite. And then, you know, the obligatory, if for some reason I there was a backup at the old three-way stop, then I might have to sneak into, Metallica or AC/DC. But the Alice in Chains Wood was a go-to for high school.
That does not disappoint, man. That's kind of what I would have expected. Maybe you would have had a little edge to you.
You could see me with the edgy grunge.
Oh yeah,
had my stocking hat on and maybe a flannel shirt tied around my waist.
Hey man, it's the 90s.
I never went for the look. I didn't go for the look, but I did like the music.
Stinch, I appreciate your time, dude. Your storytelling is impeccable. Where can people find more Matt Stinchcomb this football season?
I'll be on the SEC Network again this fall. We'll do Tuesday nights eventually once the season starts. Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock, maybe. I'm not real sure. Probably 7 o'clock on SEC Network. We'll do the SEC Now show, hour-long show. I think it's going to be me. I don't know who cares. I think it's me and another Georgia high school player from Washington County, Takeo Spikes, great Auburn football player. So me and Takeo will be holding it down this year. And then Saturdays, we'll be doing an SEC game somewhere. Hopefully get a couple of Dogs games. Given the schedule, I'm willing to bet we'll get more than a handful.
You might have 4 or 5.
We might be the television broadcast network for the Georgia Bulldogs this year.
Appreciate it, Stinch. Always a pleasure, man. I'll see you in Athens at some point, I bet.
Yeah, buddy. I appreciate it, Wes. This was fun, man.
Man, I love that from Stinch. Guy gets it. He understands what this show is all about. Having a great time, looking down memory lane, having fun, celebrating how weird high school football can be, but also how amazing it is and how we hope it never goes away. Thank y'all for listening to Go Fight Win. Help preserve what we love about high school football by sharing this show, letting people know that it's a place to get inspired, it's a place to laugh, it's a place to hear some great stories, and that's what we're going to deliver each and every week this high school football season. Go Fight Win drops every Thursday, wherever you find your shows, everywhere except for, a ham radio, record player, stuff like that. If that's all you got, well, you're not listening to this anyway. You're out of luck. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll be right back next Thursday. Peace.